Hello. All right. This is a video to take a look at some stocks. Here we go. Let's start with ACHR. Getting a pullback. This looks totally natural. Yeah, look at, I don't know when I drew that line, but that's resistance. It was support back here, support back here, support, resistance, resistance again. To be bullish here, what we want is for price to probably touch this lower Bollinger. That's generally what, that's the mid Bollinger. That's generally what price does once it breaks the 5. Once it breaks the 5, your next support here is the lower Bollinger, which also closes this gap right around 550. And then that would still remain above the 50 MA. And from there, we'd like to see price bounce. You'd like to see it remain in this zone, not break below the 50. You'd like to see it remain in this zone and then pop above the 200, which would be this resistance line here at 670, I think, or somewhere in there. But that's just natural progression. Drop down and then bounce up. It's probably going to stay in this zone for a bit. Here weekly, you have the 50 above the 200. You're above the mid Bollinger and above the 5 MA here on the weekly. So on the weekly, you're still fine here. And and I'm pretty sure you've broken out, but let's check. Yeah, I would say you've broken out. And this was probably your 4, and then your 5, and now you're either going to do a flat and then another correction or breakout, or you're just going to start moving up. But yeah, this is all constructive. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be bullish every day, obviously, because you're probably going to have a couple down days here. Let's see what it looks like this morning. Yeah, this could drop 586 easy, right here at 560 easy, put you right in that 550 zone. Yeah, I could do that pretty quickly. Okay, but overall, that's fine. This is fine as long as this low here holds at 443 or whatever that is. And I would even put it no, I wouldn't put a stop there because that would actually be when I would be interested in looking to buy here. My stop would have been up here. My stop. I would have sold calls in here. But yeah, it's going to bounce around and drop, or yeah. It's bullish, but not at the moment. And remember, none of this is financial advice. This is just my opinion. SanDisk. Overall, that's still bullish. 5 MA pointing up, middle Bollinger pointing up, lower Bollinger pointing up, RSI pointing up. Yeah, that looks fine. Daily, you're outside the Bollinger, so you could pull back down to 1654, or you could just keep pushing up. That's clearly broken out, I would imagine. Not quite. This is right where it's at. I would look for that range to hold somewhere in 1635, we'll call it. Somewhere in there. And then from there, I would definitely look for 1440 around there to hold. But that should remain bullish. I would think they'd want to have this breakout. So I would think they want to push this. Now, they don't have to do it today, obviously, but you don't want to faddle around here very long. All right. Echo Star. That looks like it's bottoming or trying to bottom. Yeah, it's trying to squeeze up. See how it's between the 5 MA and the upper Bollinger? It's trying to pinch that up, but it's hitting resistance here at that upper Bollinger. Your Bollingers are flat, so it wants to, your resistance is right here at 94.27. And so price really needs to push that up to get these Bollingers to move up. Otherwise, it's going to be flat like this. See how you hit your head and then you just bounce around between the Bollingers. See how they're flat? You could, that's your risk here, is that you just bounce around between them in a bottoming process. But yeah, otherwise it needs to start pushing higher. Getting a pullback. This pullback is completely healthy as long as you hold somewhere in here, 88 or so, and then start up again. You don't want your 50 to cross your 200 on the hourly. Then you get into these problems. Where you can't get back above it. See, you want to stay above it here. You can pull back and get close to it, bounce off of it, but you want to stay above it. SOFI. That is interesting. That looks like a big cup and handle on the weekly. You're trying to break out. See how your Bollingers were flat there. Hit the upper, went down, hit the lower. Now you're back in the middle, and your Bollingers are starting to pinch a little. This is good, unless it's bad. Here on the daily, you've got the Bollinger expanding up. That's good. Your mid Bollinger up, and your lower Bollinger starting to go up. That's really good, because you had your volatility expansion here. Once it hit the bottom, now we should be up. We're above the 5 MA, 1817. You need to stay there and continue to push up. But that looks all right. Again, the hourly, your 50 just got too far away from the 200. See, that was a huge move. So all it's doing is consolidating that move, getting that 50 closer to the 200 again, and it should recover here and come back up. Again, what you don't want is that 50 dropping below it, because then you get some selling. And you have to let the 50 get back above it. But so far, this is still constructive. What you want to do is stay above the halfway point of this big move, which is conveniently right where these tops all are, right in there somewhere. So what you absolutely want to do is stay above that. And I would even maybe move it up here. Yeah, 1730, somewhere in there, 1720. Somewhere in that range is where you'd want to stay above. But overall, it still looks fine. You still look okay there. Now again, your 5 MA, if you lose that, that's a problem. Again, that's right at 1817. Okay, coin. Actually, that looks... Actually, that looks pretty good. That looks constructive with the RSI here. That looks really constructive. Although you're not above the 5 MA, and you're not above the mid Bollinger. So you're at a risk of dropping down here to 130, which is still a pretty big drop, but I think this wants to turn up. And that kind of goes with my opinion. I think Bitcoin wants to turn up. I think even if it just closes this gap here up to 69,000. But Bitcoin, I think, wants to turn up, and that would go with Coinbase. But what I'm seeing here is that this isn't a horrendous end of the world sell-off. This is just a typical retracement is what this is looking like to me. Yeah, this still looks constructive. I mean, you're still just forming a bottom. You could drop here again, 140. I said on the weekly it could go to 130. Yeah. So you could still drop, but it's constructive. I tend to think you don't drop. I tend to think you rally here. But yeah, that would be watch for the sudden drop, but otherwise that looks pretty constructive. COHH. These are leveraged. I hate these. What is this a leverage of? Coherent. So that's the chart that we want, because charting leveraged stocks is silly. All leveraged assets go to zero eventually. They're not meant to be held, just so you know. Again, this isn't financial advice, but here, let me just show you. Zero. The eventuality of this is zero. But it's probably going to get a huge pop here because of this RSI. It'll probably get a huge pop and then come back down. But this has done nothing but lose money. Whereas, look at the stock. Look at this compared to that leveraged asset. This is straight up. That leverage is straight down. People fall in love with them because they're cheap and they move quickly, but they have no idea what they're holding. You're holding something that goes to zero. Okay, so coherent. This looks constructive, looks bullish, looks fine. You're above the 5, you're above the 50, you're above the 200, you're above the mid Bollinger. Bollingers are pointing up. Yeah, as long as you hold this like 337, you should be fine. I'll go to the COHH. You're right on 850. Playing around with that line. But again, this looks like it'll probably break up. And this is coherent. That's a drug, right? That's a biotech. Nope. Lasers. Industrial communications, electronics. Yeah, that should be good. I think they're buying IGV. So, yeah. Yep. Again, your 50 just went too far. So you're consolidating here. Again, this is another one that looks fine as long as you hold that 5 MA. All right, now they want to look at some minors. I gotta make this quick. Actually running out of time. Gonna open soon. Yeah, I mean, that was a good bottom. This looks great. I didn't like the weekly. Just something about this I didn't like. But this looks fine. I mean, this looks like a big cup and handle, and this is your your correction. Yeah. Holding above like 1035, I think would be good. But this looks really bullish. I mean, you're still squeezing up. You're above the 5. You're in between the 5 and the upper Bollinger. Yeah, nothing to do with that as long as it's squeezing. That looks great. Endeavor, EXK, getting the pullback. See, this was a bunch of bullish divergence. It just didn't look right to me. But this looks fine. Again, your first logical support is right here at 962 and then 890. But this just looks like a pullback in a really bullish setup. Look at that giant cup and handle. I mean, this is going to be a monster. And you could have had it under $2 if you were wise. Oh, I guess you could still get it. But look at these Bollingers. Look at these things are, yeah. I think a big move's coming in these. I think that probably was a bottom. The more I look at it, as it was happening, it did not look right. I would expect a pullback and then a shoot up, but these, I mean, this is still squeezing. This is Hecla. This is one of my favorites. I own this at 4, yeah, right in this 4 range is when I was buying it. And I sent out alerts all over the place, right in this 6 range. Like, hey, this is going to break out. And here we are. And I see no reason to do anything with it. You're 9 count up, but you're still squeezing. Yeah, you could pull back. If you broke that 5 at 1817, you could pull back down here to 1617. That's fine. Yeah, you definitely just want to own some miners. That's for sure. Almost like just get a dartboard with mining stocks and throw darts at it. This is one of my favorites. Hopefully you can see why. Big bottom here. This is a awesome chart. That's a Livermore cylinder, I believe, that I was tracking. And I think we should be up, and this is what I expect the other miners to do. The silver and gold miners. They had this move up. Now I expect them to come back, just like this is done. So now we see where uranium goes. Again, overall, I'm massively, massively bullish on this. Super bullish. This drops, I add. But your 50, yeah. You want to hold this range here at $3. But overall, that's I'm very bullish in that. UROY, Uranium Holding Company. The only one that I'm aware of. Maybe there's more, but again, this is just awesome. Just nothing but consolidating the entire life of this thing, and now you're getting ready to break out from the middle. And this is a monthly. Look, you're breaking out on the monthly. Just yes. You're squeezing. I bet you're squeezing on the daily, unless you just broke that. Nope, you're still squeezing. I mean, you could even drop here and then launch, but this is, look, you're just building, 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 and even here, it's not dropping. This is just, yeah, just mega bullish. Super bullish on uranium. Whether or not it bottomed, I don't know, because some of these stocks are like the miners. They look odd to me. This is just odd. Like if it suddenly dropped, I would not be surprised. See, this looks pretty constructive, but also pretty ugly. So what do you do with that? Then here's a big miner, which these look better. The miners look better than the reactors. USAR. This should be, yeah. You'd like to stay above the 50 here and above the 5. Looks good. You'd like to get above the mid Bollinger at 21.15 or so. But until then, you could drop to 17.66 right in there. Yeah, you're kind of clustered right here. You could drop and then pop out of it. This was another odd. I didn't like this bottom. This bottom to me looks like this could drop again and hit this Bollinger and then take off. It just, and a lot of the miners look like that, but they look much better now. So I don't know what, maybe this takes off from here. I don't know. Some of these just look off. But that, I mean, overall, that is a really constructive. Look at all this just consolidating in here. You had the big try to spike out, and no, it looks like you're just, yeah, bouncing against this resistance. And I would even do a lower resistance here. Yeah, somewhere in here, which you're right up against. So I think this is just biding its time to break out here. But again, all these look like they could drop really quickly and then take off. Again, those drops are what I would want to buy. All right. Again, all just my opinion, not financial advice. Okay. That'll do it for the stocks here. Be safe, be wise, be bold, and as always, good luck.